Ignite to Impact.
You're listening to Ignite to Impact, a podcast that inspires you to make positive, meaningful change in your life and pursue your passions. My name is Geneva Williams. I'm a leadership strategist, best known as the Vibrant Life Architect that works with others to be all you can be. I'm sitting down with influencers to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. And today, oh my goodness, I am so excited. I'm bringing you Demarra Gardner. Now, I need to let you know straight off that she's part of a bringing to the Detroit area, but they're on tour, the fabulous Be Fit Fabulous Detroit tour. And so we're going to definitely talk about that. But she can bring that kind of wonderfulness because she's founder of Black Women About Business, which supports Black female leaders and brings about that intersection between business and wellness, how you feel about yourself and what you do in business so you can lead an optimal life. And I believe in that. It's just not about the money you make, but also how you take care of yourself, what you are inside. But she's not only founder of Black Women About Business, she's also been a successful entrepreneur. So she knows what she's talking about. She's a coach, she's a business strategist, and she's certified in yoga as a peace practice person. So we're going to find out about all of that. So let me stop talking about her and let me bring her to you. Demarra, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful this morning, Dr. Geneva. It's such a pleasure to be on your show today. Just really looking forward to this conversation and gleaning from you this morning.
Well, thank you. Well, we want to start right off with, what is a yoga? You're certified in yoga as a peace practice. Help me understand that. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, so yoga as a peace practice is brought to us by the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance. And based on all of the violence that was happening to Black and brown people throughout the country, we meaning the Black Yoga Teachers Alliance, wanted to bring a yoga practice to communities that have been impacted by violence. And so thinking about yoga from a tradition standpoint, a lot of times the way that we think about yoga today is it's sensationalized, right? I mean, you see people doing headstands and all of these things, which are great, but really the core of yoga is about being one with self, right? And the more that we can help communities, which of course are comprised of individuals, to be one with themselves, then they can offer solutions to some of the most trying struggles that we have as a society. And so that's the idea behind yoga as a peace practice, is that we want to make yoga accessible. We want to bring it to communities that otherwise may not have access. And we want to make sure that we are using our internal resources to be able to activate change within our communities from this nonviolent peace perspective.
Oh, that I love it. So you're using yoga as a change strategy. When I think most people think about yoga, they think about a mat and music and your eyes closed and you breathe deeply. But you're taking it that step further to say, yes, you do all that, but in fact, it's a change strategy because you get to know about yourself and can be used instead of violence. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah. You couldn't have said it any better than that. And I think that when you have people on the ground doing social justice work, it can be really trying work, right? It takes a lot of our resources to be able to activate change. And so yoga practices help us to restore ourselves, which then, of course, helps us to be more effective in change efforts. And you don't, I mean, you talked about it, you don't necessarily even need a yoga mat, right? We could be doing a yoga practice standing up. We could be doing yoga in a chair. And so I'm being trained, in addition to pieces of yoga practice, in the trauma center, trauma-sensitive yoga. And so the idea behind that, in addition to this piece of the yoga practice, is that yoga can be done anywhere, and it can be done anytime. And we don't need to be able to do a headstand in order to do yoga. Okay. And in fact, the core poses related to yoga, there are basic poses that don't have to even do with agility, right? It's just about being one with body and moving in a way that honors ourselves, so that we can be the best versions of ourselves and do the work that we feel called to do in whatever space that we're in.
I love it. And bringing this kind of practice to boys and men of color in communities is so needed, because all around communities, start President Obama and his whole initiative about how we can work together to improve the lives of boys and men of color, and the MLK, all kinds of different initiatives. This is very unique. I'm loving it. How do you use this in your coaching and your business strategies?
Yeah, so, at the community level, I take yoga as a peace practice and trauma-sensitive yoga into places that may not otherwise have access. So, for example, I'm doing a project with a local alternative school where I'm going in kind, and I'm providing this resource to their students. And I would say that 100% of them have been impacted by complex trauma. And so this is giving them an opportunity to engage in a practice that they have never engaged in. And even this question around, who am I? Well, how can you even get to this idea of who you are if you've never even had an opportunity to think about what you feel? To have the freedom to articulate what it is that you feel, to have someone violate you and take things from you that are really sacred, related to the mind and the body. And so, from my vantage point, I feel like emerging leaders, like our young people, having an opportunity like this can change the trajectory of their lives. And a lot of research shows that bringing trauma-informed practices into individuals' lives who've been impacted by trauma can change the trajectory of their lives in really substantial ways. Now, of course, from a restorative standpoint, I think that really minimizing the cradle to the prison pipeline means that we have to start young. We know that kids' brains develop by the time that they are, 90% of their brains are developed by the time that they're 5. And so knowing that, we need to be working with preschoolers and toddlers and making sure that they have access to. And then, of course, from a professional standpoint, because that's all a part of my community work, and then from a professional standpoint, when I'm doing coaching work, oftentimes I will integrate yoga into the practice if I have a sense that there are barriers for people to feel, for people to speak, because trauma really does live in the body. And so if someone is having a hard time articulating what they feel, I do a lot of mind-body integration work, right? So where do you feel it the most in your body right now? And then people can describe, well, God, my throat feels really closed at this moment. Well, then I know that doing a yoga form that has to do with opening that part of the body is going to help to give them a sense of release. And so I think that we're limited. If we're only focusing on the mind in our work with people, we're really limiting our ability to help them to be as effective as they can be, because the body knows things that the mind doesn't.
Yes. Yes. And so how have you found, how do people react to this, using this as a restorative practice that you're doing? What's the reaction that you get?
Yeah, so of course, people have resistance to it often because we resist the things that we don't know, and particularly what I find with people that have experienced trauma, they know how to survive, right? They have learned ways to survive in the most intense circumstances, right? Things that we can't even imagine if we've never been in those situations. And so treading lightly and really honoring people and where they are, and which is the essence of trauma-informed work, right? We're not. Yes. I'm not forcing myself on anyone as a practitioner, and even in the language that I use, invitational language, so that people feel as if they can honor themselves, their thoughts, their body, every step of the way. And so giving people an opportunity to opt in or out, giving up people an opportunity to not move at all. These are all things that are a part of honoring self and letting people to really ease into it, and not making any of the outcomes that happen about me as a practitioner, but really offering an opportunity to engage in practice that they want to engage in on their own terms. And so certainly what I will tell you is that there's an immense amount of resistance, which is normal, right? Because we resist things that we don't know, and we resist things that we don't know more so when we have been traumatized, right? Because it feels, the brain might tell us that this is dangerous, this is uncharted territory for me, right? And so knowing all those things are present, my job is to honor all of it and to allow people to engage when they want to engage, the way that they want to engage, because that's really where healing can manifest. Trauma happens as a result of relationships, but healing also happens as a result of relationships. So, what I do as a person in relationship with the individuals that I'm working with is hugely important, because it is about me, but it's not about me, right? So really honoring that in my work with people, and that rings true in everything that I do, whether I'm, speaking to a group of women about what it means to be our sister's keeper, or working with a group of young people, or coaching a couple that's in business together. I mean, all of that related to people honoring themselves and what this means for them is something that I hold sacredly in my work, right? Because I don't have the answers necessarily. I have some knowledge that I want to be able to impart, but people have their own answers. Oftentimes we just don't know it yet.
Right. And so you as a coach, you help people discover those answers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that's, a lot of the work that you do. And so, I see myself as a facilitator versus a teacher. And so as in the role of facilitator, my job is to hold a space. My job is to use skills that I've learned that can help to bring out the heart of the matter in people and the resourcefulness in people. And so how I see people is that they do have the ability to create the kinds of lives that they want, to determine the solutions that are right size for them. And my job is to just bring it to the light, these skills that I've learned through my coaching program and through my trauma certification program, and any of the programs that I've gone through on my professional journey to do the work that I do.
And so, Demarra, help us understand that this work that you do with trauma and restorative practices and yoga as a peace practice, and it's all seems to be about wellness and being good with yourself and knowing yourself. Why should people, particularly women who run businesses, be interested in this topic?
Yeah, well, I think that part of it is that we have been socialized to not take very good care of ourselves often. And so I think what happens is that we are highly effective at a lot of things, right? We are really good at taking care of other people. We're really good at running our businesses and managing our teams, and we have all of these technical abilities and maybe soft skill abilities. But we historically find ourselves at the on the last, right, of the to-do list. And I think what happens is that our health then begins to be impacted. Our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, because when we are not depositing into ourselves through wellness practice, then we're running on fumes, essentially. And so we can do that for a concerted amount of time, but even if we're doing it for that concerted amount of time, we have to recognize that we're being impacted adversely in some way. We may not even know it. So, for example, I got shingles about 6 years ago. And, I wear a lot of hats. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years. I'm always engaged in some kind of learning. I'm a mother. I have family members that I take care of. And so at the time that I got shingles, I didn't even know. I felt fine, right? I felt fine. I'm just going through life like I always do. But my body had a different message about what was really going on with me. And so the idea is that the more that we can position ourselves to take care of ourselves, then the less we find ourselves in situations where we're having mental breakdowns, where our body is responding in ways that says, "Hey, you gotta stop, because this is not working for you anymore." And so, our body, as I said earlier, has a way of making us pay attention. So, when we're engaged in wellness practice, though, and we do that on an ongoing basis, we're filling our bucket. We have reserves stored up, so that we become more resilient over time. And so that's the idea of wellness. And I think that we have to love ourselves enough to say that I'm going to put myself first, because the more that I can put myself first, the more that I can give more back to others, right? The more effective I can be, because I'm no good. If I'm laying up with shingles, guess what? Everything is going to kind of shut down for a little while. And what good is that for the people in my life, right?
That's right. You're right. And that is so important.
It is. It is. And so that's why I think that we want to be proactive versus reactive, in this wellness space.
And so, Demarra, now this whole subject of, making me a priority, that's what I like to call it, making sure that, because it seems like we're checking off everybody else's to-do list and having it for ourselves and making ourselves a priority seems to be a struggle for a lot of women. So what kind of advice do you give to the people you coach, that you mentor, about how to take care of yourself, how to make yourself a priority?
Yeah, so I think that first and foremost, saying yes to the things that we want to say yes to, and no to the things that we really want to say no to, right? And so part of that is that we feel obligated often to do everything for everyone. And then we have resentment because we're doing everything for everyone. So, changing the times that we make commitments and making sure that we really want to do something before we do it. But also even before that, right? Because that's an action, and all of this is rooted in action. But I think that the way that we can have a good understanding of what we really want to do and what we don't want to do is by carving out time for ourselves for reflection. And so that could be, for me, for example, I wake up in the morning, I have my 2 cups of coffee, I get my journal out, and I write. And that's my time with the Spirit, with God, whatever people want to call it. And I'm writing out things like my intentions for the day and what I'm grateful for, and big questions that I am grappling with. And the more that I write, the more I feel grounded in myself. the more I get resolve about the things that I'm pondering, the more creative I become. And when I'm not taking out that time, that's the time that I feel less one with myself, and I'm running back into these patterns that are my go-to, because we all have these go-to ways of being in life. And so I think for all of us, figuring out what is optimal for us to create that space so that we can be in tune with what it is that we really want and what it is that we really need. And then, as I shared earlier, having clarity about the times that we need to say yes and the times that we need to say no, and even changing this idea of need, right? I used to say, well, I need to do yoga. No, I really want to do yoga. I need to be outside. No, I really want to be outside. And so the energy that comes along with the words need and want, that means a lot, right? Like needing it almost feels forced. Versus wanting, it's like, man, this is something that I'm really looking forward to. And I want to do it because I know the benefits of it. And then there's so many other things, right? I mean, I do yoga because yoga does help me to slow down. The breathing helps me to oxygenate my body. And then also it gives me that meditative, reflective space. And then it helps me to move because our bodies are meant to move, right? So, whether it be walking for 30 minutes or doing a yoga practice or whatever that might be for us, but moving our bodies because, again, our bodies they're just meant to move.
Yes. Keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving. Absolutely. Yes.
I love that.
Of course, there's a lot of other things, right?
Yes.
There's so many wellness practices out there, from what we put in our bodies to getting sunshine to, some people don't believe in supplements, but some of us need to have supplements because our body is not generating the things that we need to generate in order to live a holistic life. Learning about how to be in effective relationships and, not being in isolation. So, I mean, I could go on and on about this. There's so many things that can help us to live a life rooted in wellness.
Yes.
And some of us all of us, I should say, have strengths in that regard, and we all have opportunities that we can grow, right? Those cutting edges so that we can live a well-rounded life of wellness.
I just love the whole idea that you talk about in terms of routines, like your morning routine and how important that is, and the benefits of having time to reflect and thinking about yourself. And then this whole concept about, yes, it's about action and taking action, but it's also the mindset and how you give us the, you pointed out for us the difference between using the language of need and want. I love that. Now, is all of this going to be part of your Be Well Fabulous Black Tour?
Yeah.
Okay. So, tell us about it.
It absolutely will be. So, we have a lineup of people that are meant to, motivate and to inspire us, right? And so we've got Dr. Lynn Richardson. She's a financial celebrity expert. Many people have seen her, like, on the Steve Harvey Show. She's going to be talking about, yes, girl, yes, you deserve everything in life. And she really focuses on helping us to have multiple streams of income. And much of what she talks about is related to mindset. And then we have Lisa Smith. She's based in the Detroit area. She's a certified plant-based nutritionist, and so you don't see a lot of us in that space. So she's going to be talking about healing the heart of the Black woman, and part of that is, how living well is connected to how we eat, right?
Yes.
It's energy for life. It's how we live at a high vibrational level. And then we've got Afrobeat Fit coming in from the Boston, Rhode Island area. They're going to be doing these sweat sessions that are related to African hip-hop and everything in between, because, again, we talked about the importance of moving our bodies. And then we've got these breakout sessions that are based on business, leadership, as well as wellness. So we've got some things that are part of just the mechanics of being good leaders and being effective in business. And then we have wellness that has to do with things like how do we build and sustain effective relationships, and how can we have the right mindset so that we can create the kind of lives that we want. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be doing. And then we have some intentional networking because we know that we're stronger together. So the more that we can create strategic relationships with one another, that gives us an opportunity to filter business to one another and to support each other in business and leadership and wellness. And then we have the strategy session at the end, because it's not enough for us to just come together and be inspired. We want to make sure that women have some tangible actions to walk away with, so because they're going to be more likely to create behavioral changes if they have an opportunity to intentionally think about those things. So that's what people can expect at the tour.
That's right. That's right. It sounds fantastic. Oh, my goodness. Be well, fabulous. And I just love it. And I love how you have this in the context of leadership and leading your own life, because I do believe that, we can do, those good practices, those good leadership practices, be out there, changing the world. And we need to take care of ourselves and understand how we need to keep ourselves well and understand ourselves from, because I do believe in that vibrant life and how vibrancy, I believe, and living well has to do with looking good and, of course, feeling good. It's also about doing good. And I think that's the community part of it. That is how we every day can find meaning and purpose in helping others, in giving back, in sharing what we know so we can make this a better world and a better life. So, look good, feel good, and do good.
I love that, Dr. Geneva.
And so I just love you, and I'm so honored and blessed. I think that you've given me the chance to bring you to my listeners, because it's so important and such great new information too. I think the whole aspect of yoga as a peace practice and you using it in a collection of restorative practices is phenomenal. And then your mindset shifts that particularly we as women need to make. And I'm going to be using that today rather than say, I need to do. I'm going to say, hey, I wants to do. Because you're right. It just gives you a different mindset about it. So Be Well Fabulous Black Tour, May 14th. I'm excited. Demarra Gardner, you have just inspired all of us. And, I'm about sitting down with influencers to talk about how you make an impact. And you've been able to do that. I mean, I just love having this conversation with you.
Thank you, Dr. Geneva. It has been such an honor to be here. I will be riding on this conversation all day. I'm actually in D.C. at the Black Women's Roundtable.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, of course, they've got wonderful things planned today, which I'm sure will benefit me. And this conversation is going to be the thing that I will probably think about the most today. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And you can tell all of them that if they want to hear your conversation and other conversations that inspire women to influence and be the best they can be, they can go to IgniteToImpact.com, where all my podcasts I have over 100 episodes. And I just started, Demarra, doing this a couple of years ago. And so life is good at 70. It really is. And so the thing that I do in terms of helping women with their next moves, whether it be a milestone birthday or a new job, it really inspires me to do more when I talk to people like you. Thank you, Demarra Gardner, for being my guest. And let's connect soon. Hopefully when you come to Detroit.
Wait. Yes, Dr. Geneva. We're definitely going to make that happen.
Oh, I want that so much.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Demarra Gardner.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. Remember, if you want to listen to Demarra Gardner, the founder of Black Women About Business, you can go to Ignite to Impact and see and listen to her and listen to over 100 podcasts from influencers, conversations with them as they talk about their processes, what they've learned, the lessons, and most importantly, how to make an impact. This is Dr. Geneva. See you soon.
Ignite to Impact.